I came back from a trip without announcing it. I wanted to surprise them for Christmas. The house was lit up, and I could hear laughter from the living room. I left my suitcase by the door and walked slowly. On the balcony, my wife was crying silently, gazing at the Christmas tree lights. Inside, my son was laughing with his in-laws, toasting as if nothing was missing. No one noticed I had returned. I stood there watching and understood everything without hearing a single word. But let me tell you from the beginning how a man who built an empire returned home to discover his family had been invaded, and how revenge, when executed with surgical precision, can be devastatingly silent. My name is Ethan Miller. I'm 62 years old. I'm the owner of a chain of boutique hotels along the California coast. 6 properties I built from scratch 30 years ago when no one was betting on luxury tourism in the US. Today, they generate revenues of $40 million annually. A life many envy, a success few understand the price I paid. My wife, Sarah, is 58. We married 35 years ago when I had nothing but dreams and determination. She worked by my side in those first hotels, cleaning rooms when we had no staff, manning the reception until midnight, believing in a vision many called madness. We have one son, Ryan, 32 years old, an architect, or at least he has the degree, because in practice he never truly worked, always with excuses about the difficult market, about demanding clients, about the unstable economy. And 4 years ago, he married Ashley, a 30-year-old woman, attractive, educated, with a family of old money in New York City. Things changed subtly at first, then more obviously. Ryan started to distance himself, visiting us less, calling less, always with Ashley occupying his time, with her family demanding attention, with a life in New York City that apparently had no space for parents in San Diego. Dad, you understand how it is. Ashley needs to be close to her family, and work is there. What work, Ryan? You haven't had a project in 6 months. I'm looking, contacting clients, building my network. Excuses, always excuses, while I kept sending money monthly. Support that turned into complete sustenance because Ashley had standards. She needed an apartment in Upper East Side, a German car, vacations in Europe, and Ryan, weak as he had always been, couldn't say no. Sarah suffered in silence, watching her son drift away, seeing grandchildren we rarely knew, 2-year-old twins we saw more in social media photos than in person. And every time she mentioned the pain, Ryan had a ready response. Mom, don't be dramatic, we're busy. We'll come when we can. But they never could, except when they needed something. Money for an investment, a loan for a medical emergency, an advance on the inheritance for that unique opportunity. And I, like the fool I was, always gave because he was my son, my only son. And parents help their children, don't they? This year, I decided to take a trip to Europe. Sarah had commitments with a charitable foundation she managed, and I needed space, time to think about the business, about potential expansion to the Caribbean, about a future that felt increasingly uncertain. How long will you be away? Sarah asked. 3 weeks, maybe 4. I'll visit properties, meet with investors, explore options. I'll miss you, and I, you. But I'll be back before Christmas. Promised. I left in mid-November, and for the first 2 weeks, everything seemed normal. Sarah sent me daily messages, photos of the house, updates on the hotels, conversations about trivial things that kept the connection. But then something changed. The messages became less frequent, shorter, with a tone I couldn't quite identify. But that unsettled me. And when I called, she sounded distracted, as if she were thinking about something else, as if talking to me were an obligation, not a pleasure. "Are you all right?" I asked during one call. "Yes, of course. Why do you ask?" "You sound different, distant. It's your imagination. I'm just tired." But my instinct told me it was more. Something was wrong, and the more I thought about it, the more anxious I became. Then I made a decision. I would return early, without notice, to surprise Sarah for Christmas, to see with my own eyes what was happening. I arrived in San Diego on the afternoon of December 23rd, 3 days earlier than planned, without telling anyone. I took a taxi from the airport to our house, a large residence in an exclusive area with an ocean view, which I had built specifically for Sarah, for her comfort, for her happiness. It was almost 8 p.m. when I arrived, and the house was fully lit. Christmas lights in the garden, the tree visible through the windows, and sounds, laughter, music, as if there were a party. I paid the cab driver, took my suitcase, and walked toward the entrance with my key in hand, ready for the surprise, for the hug with Sarah, for the warmth of home. But then I heard multiple voices and a laugh I immediately recognized. Ryan. What was Ryan doing here? He was supposed to be in New York City with Ashley, with her family. I opened the door silently, leaving the suitcase in the entrance, and advanced slowly, following the sounds toward the living room. And what I saw froze me. The living room was full of Ryan, Ashley, and her parents, the in-laws, all toasting, laughing in my house, in my living room, as if it belonged to them. And then I saw something else on the balcony, visible through the glass doors. Sarah, my Sarah, sitting alone, a glass of wine in her hand, looking at the Christmas tree, tears streaming down her face. No one looked at her. No one noticed her pain. Everyone was too busy enjoying the party in the house I had built, with the money I had earned, completely ignoring the woman who had given everything for this family. I stayed in the shadows, observing, and overheard a conversation, fragments that revealed everything. We finally have the house to ourselves, without Ethan here giving orders. Ashley, lower your voice. Your mother-in-law might hear. So what, Ryan? Your father is in Europe, probably with a mistress. Do you think he cares about us? Does he care about Sarah, who is out there crying? Let her be. She'll get used to the new reality. What reality? That this house is perfect for us, for the kids, and with your father constantly traveling, we could, convince Sarah that it's better for everyone for her to move to something smaller, more manageable, and we stay here. Ashley, it's my parents' house, and someday it will be yours. Why wait decades, Ryan? Your father is 62. He'll be lucky to live another 20 years. Do you want to wait until you're 50 to finally have the life you deserve? I don't know. Ashley's father intervened, a 65-year-old man with the authoritarian voice of someone accustomed to being obeyed. Ryan, Ashley is right. Look, this property is easily worth $30 million, and you're paying rent in New York City. It's absurd. Convince your father to transfer the property under the pretext of estate planning, tax protection, anything, but secure your future. And if he refuses, then we work on your mother. Sarah is more malleable, especially now that she's alone, vulnerable, with a son who visits her more, who supports her, who is present. She can influence Ethan, make him see reason. I don't know if it will work. It will work, Ashley assured him, because Ryan, your father can't take everything with him when he's gone, and the sooner you secure what's yours, the better. This house, the hotels, eventually, everything. But you need to act, not wait. Ashley's mother added something. And Sarah, the poor thing, she looks so lonely, so abandoned. Maybe she needs a reminder that family is here, that she can depend on us, that she doesn't need to be in such a big empty house when she could be in something cozier, near her grandchildren. The fury I felt at that moment was unlike anything I had ever experienced. It wasn't explosive, it was cold, calculated, lethal, because they were conspiring not just Ryan and Ashley, but the entire family, planning to take my house, manipulate Sarah, steal the future I had built. And Sarah, my Sarah. She was on the balcony crying because she had probably heard these conversations before. She had probably been pressured, manipulated for weeks while I was away and had no one defending her, protecting her because her husband was on the other side of the world. I moved silently toward the balcony, opening the doors without a sound. And Sarah saw me, her eyes widening in shock, fresh tears falling. "Ethan," she whispered. "Shh," I placed a finger on my lips. "Don't say anything. Just come with me." I extended my hand, and she took it without question, without doubt, and we left the balcony together, avoiding the living room, walking through the side garden to my car parked on the street, where no one would see us, where no one would notice our departure. "What's going on?" she asked when we were in the car, her voice broken. "I heard everything. I know what they've been doing, what they've said, and Sarah, we're not going to allow it. They've been pressuring me for weeks, telling me the house is too big, that I should move, that Ryan needs space for his family, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to bother you while you were working. You are never a bother, and you should have told me immediately. I was afraid you'd think I was exaggerating, that I was being selfish, that—" "None of that. Sarah, you're my wife, my partner, and no one treats my wife like that, not even our son. What are we going to do? We're going to act, but intelligently, coldly. We're going to show them exactly what happens when they conspire against the wrong people. But first, I need you to tell me everything, every conversation, every pressure, everything." We drove to one of my hotels, where I reserved the presidential suite, and for an hour Sarah told me everything. How Ryan had arrived 3 weeks ago with Ashley and the children with the in-laws, saying they wanted to spend Christmas at the beach as a family. But then the conversation started, subtle at first. "Mum, the house is so big. Don't you feel lonely?" Then more direct. "You should consider downsizing, something more manageable." And finally, explicit. "Dad should transfer the house to Ryan for asset protection, to avoid future taxes." And what did you tell them? That I needed to talk to you, that I couldn't make a decision like that without consulting you. And that bothered them, Ashley especially, saying it was simple, that I just needed to sign papers, that you would understand. Did they pressure you physically? Threaten you? Not physically, but emotionally, yes. Ryan saying that if I truly loved him, I would trust him. Ashley insinuating that I was selfish for keeping such a large property. Her parents acting as if it were obvious, as if I were foolish for resisting. And today, what happened today specifically? Today they said they had already spoken with a lawyer, that they had the papers prepared, that I just needed to sign. And when I said no, when I said we would wait until you arrived, Ashley exploded, saying you were controlling, that I was weak, that I was wasting an opportunity, and then they organized the party as a premature celebration, as if they had already won. And I could only cry because my son, my only son, was treating me like an obstacle, as if I didn't matter, as if after everything we've done for him, I didn't deserve basic respect. I hugged her as she cried, and at that moment, I made a decision. I wouldn't just defend Sarah. I wouldn't just protect our property, but I would teach a lesson to Ryan, to Ashley, to her damned, manipulative parents. A lesson they would never forget. Sarah, trust me. In the next few hours, I'm going to fix this, but I need you to stay here at the hotel. Rest, and let me handle everything. What are you going to do? Justice. Cold, calculated, irreversible, and when I'm done, Ryan will understand exactly what it means to betray family. I left her in the suite with instructions not to contact anyone and then made calls. The first was to my lawyer, who lived in Los Angeles, 30 minutes away. Ethan, it's 10 p.m. It's an emergency. I need documents tonight, can you? What kind of documents? Revocation of the power of attorney I gave Ryan, a complete change of will, disinheritance, and transfer of properties to a trust where Sarah is the sole beneficiary while she lives. After that, everything goes to charity. That's nuclear. It's necessary. Can you or not? Give me 2 hours. I'll have them ready. The second call was to a trusted locksmith who had worked for me for years. I need you to change all the locks on my house tonight and install a new security system with codes only Sarah and I know. Tonight, Ethan, it's Christmas Eve. Triple rate and a bonus of $50,000, but I need you to start in 2 hours and finish before dawn. I'll be there. The third call was more satisfying. To the police, specifically to the captain I knew who had helped with hotel security for years. Captain Jones, Ethan Miller, I need a favor. Tell me, there are people illegally occupying my house, my son's family, and I need them removed tonight with legal authority. Illegally, Ethan? If they're family, they have no legal right to be there, and they've been harassing my wife. I have evidence of attempted fraud, coercion, conspiracy to obtain property by deception, and I need them escorted out now. That's serious. Do you have proof? I'll have it in an hour. But, Captain, they're in my house without my permission, pressuring Sarah, and I won't tolerate it for another minute. All right, prepare the proof, and I'll send a unit. But, Ethan, this is your son. Are you sure? Completely. My son chose his path. Now he faces the consequences. While waiting for the documents, I returned to the house, but I didn't go in. I stayed outside in the dark garden where I could see without being seen, watching through the lit windows, seeing the party continue, laughter, toasts, celebration of a victory they hadn't won yet. And I recorded everything with my phone. Clear video of Ryan, Ashley, and her parents in my living room, drinking my wine, using my house as if it were theirs, visual evidence that would complement Sarah's testimony. After 30 minutes, I heard the conversation I needed. Ashley was talking loudly to her mother without concern about being overheard. We almost have it. Sarah is broken. We just need to press a little more tomorrow and she'll sign. We'll tell her Ethan already approved, that only her signature is missing. And once it's signed, the house is legally ours. And if Ethan comes back, if he objects, by then it will be too late. The papers will be registered and Ryan will have the title. Ethan can shout all he wants, but the house will be ours. It's brilliant. And then we work on the hotels. Ryan is the only son, the heir. With some correct legal pressure, we can force a transfer of control, especially if we argue that Ethan is aging, that he needs help managing the businesses. Exactly, Mom. In 6 months, this family will have what it deserves: wealth, properties, respect. And Ethan will finally understand that his time has passed, that a new generation is taking control. Ryan intervened weakly as always. Ashley, maybe we're going too fast. My dad is smart. He'll notice. Your dad is in Europe, chasing businesses he doesn't need while we're here building a real future. Ryan, Stop being a coward. This is for our children, for our family. Or would you rather keep begging your father for an allowance until you're 50? No, but then trust me. Trust the plan. Tomorrow we pressure Sarah, she signs, and we start a new life in this house, with this fortune, as it should have been from the beginning. I recorded every word, with a timestamp, with perfect clarity, and I smiled, a humorless smile, because they had just sealed their fate with their own arrogance, their own greed completely exposed. At midnight, my lawyer arrived with the documents, a thick folder with papers that would change everything. Here is everything, he explained, in his office where I had gone to meet him. Revocation of the power of attorney, effective immediately. Ryan no longer has authority to act on your behalf. Good. New will, where Sarah receives everything in a trust, for life, with her as the sole beneficiary and administrator. And after her passing, everything goes to the 3 charitable foundations you specified. And Ryan receives exactly nothing due to, and I quote, conspiracy to defraud, coercion of beneficiary, attempt to obtain property by deception, and fundamental betrayal of family trust. Everything documented, everything legally justified, impossible to contest. Perfect. And the house transferred to an irrevocable trust with Sarah as the administrator. They cannot claim it now or ever. It's completely protected. Excellent. I need copies, 10 sets, and I need these originals registered tonight. It doesn't matter who you have to wake up at the public registry. Do it. Ethan, it's Christmas, and my family is under attack. Then do it. Triple rate, bonuses, whatever you need. But these documents are registered before dawn. Understood. Give me 3 hours. At 1 a.m., the locksmith arrived with his equipment with an assistant, and they began work, changing every lock. The main entrance, side doors, garage, everything. Installing a new security system with cameras, motion sensors, and alarm directly connected to the police station. Done, he said at 4 a.m. New keys, only 4 sets for you, for Sarah, and 2 spares in the safe, and the system is active. Any attempt to enter without the correct code activates the alarm and notifies the police automatically with live video transmitted. Perfect, thank you. Your payment will be in the account tomorrow. At 5 a.m., I received confirmation from the lawyer. Registered. Everything is official. Sarah is the owner in trust. Ryan is disinherited, and there is no legal way to reverse it. Excellent. Send me certified copies, 3 sets. I need them in an hour. You'll have them. At 6 a.m., with the sun beginning to rise, I stood in front of my house with Captain Jones, with 2 patrol cars, 4 officers, and complete documentation of everything, recordings, videos, testimonies, legal papers. Are you sure about this? The captain asked one last time. Completely. These people entered my property under false pretenses. They have been coercing my wife and conspiring to commit fraud. They are not guests. They are intruders, and I want them removed now. All right, but Ethan, your son is going to hate this. Your relationship, there is no relationship anymore. Ryan made his choice. Now, he lives with it. I knocked hard, authoritatively, and waited. I heard movement inside, confusion, and then Ryan's voice. Who is it? Police, open the door. More confusion. Then the door opened. Ryan in pajamas, disheveled, with the eyes of someone who hadn't slept well, seeing the official patrol cars, and finally seeing me. Dad, what's going on? Ryan Miller, the captain intervened. We have a report of illegal occupation of property and attempted fraud. We need you and all occupants to leave immediately. Illegal occupation. This is my parents' house. We're visiting without the owner's permission, I corrected. I did not authorize your stay, and you have been coercing Sarah, my wife, to sign fraudulent documents. I have evidence, video, audio testimony, and the officers are here to escort you out. Dad, this is ridiculous. We're family. Family doesn't conspire to steal. Family doesn't pressure a vulnerable mother. Family doesn't plan to take a house by deception. You are not family. You are criminals, and you are leaving now. Ashley appeared in a silk robe with an expression of fury. You can't kick us out. Ryan has rights. Ryan has no rights to anything. This is private property that is now in a trust with Sarah as the sole beneficiary, and none of you have permission to be here. So either you leave voluntarily, or the officers escort you out with handcuffs if necessary. This is abuse. I'm going to sue. Sue all you want. Here are the documents. Officially registered at 4 a.m. Irrevocable trust. Change of will. Complete disinheritance. All legal, all permanent. And here are the recordings of your conversations planning the fraud, conspiring against Sarah. All evidence that can and will be used legally if you continue to resist. Ashley's father appeared, trying to regain control. Ethan, let's be reasonable. We can discuss this like adults. There is no discussion. You have 30 minutes to collect your things, clothes, personal items, nothing else, and then you leave. And if you ever approach Sarah, if you contact her, if you pressure her, if you do anything that bothers her, I file criminal charges for everything. Coercion, conspiracy, attempted fraud. And believe me, with the evidence I have, with the lawyers I have, you will spend years in a legal battle, losing every step. Ryan, Ashley pleaded, do something. It's your father. Control him. He can't control me because I no longer have an obligation to him. Ryan chose. He chose to conspire. He chose to betray. He chose greed over integrity. And now he faces the consequences. 30 minutes. Start packing. I watched them go inside, stunned, incredulous, and the officers waited with me as the sun fully rose, illuminating a Christmas morning that would be unforgettable for reasons they never imagined. 25 minutes later, they came out with suitcases, with confused children, with expressions that combined fury and shock, and I watched them leave in their cars, escorted by a patrol car to the city limits to ensure they truly left. And when the last car disappeared, I turned to the captain. Thank you for everything. Ethan, I hope you know what you're doing. This is going to create permanent resentment. There was already resentment, only now it's mutual and honest. I entered the house, my house, now protected, secured, and walked through every room, seeing the mess they left behind. Dirty glasses, plates, evidence of a party that should never have happened. And I cleaned personally, restoring order, erasing the presence of the invaders, and when I finished, when the house was as it should be, I returned to the hotel to Sarah. She was awake, waiting with evident anxiety. What happened? They're all gone and won't be back. The house is protected legally, financially, and Sarah, there's something you need to know. What? The house is completely yours in the trust I created tonight. You are the sole owner, the sole administrator. As long as you live, no one can take it from you. Not Ryan, not Ashley, not her damned parents. No one. Ethan. And there's more. The will is changed. Everything. The hotels, the properties, everything goes to you in a life trust. And after you, to charity. Ryan inherits nothing due to the conspiracy, the betrayal, the behavior that doesn't deserve reward. But he's your son. He was my son until he decided to see me as an obstacle, see you as a target, see us as means to his greed. Sarah, we built everything together, you and I, for 35 years. And I won't allow people who contributed nothing, who sacrificed nothing, who only waited to benefit, to take it, even if those people share my blood. She cried, but this time they weren't tears of pain. They were relief, liberation, from the pressure she had been enduring, from the fear she had been feeling. And now, what do? Now we live without the weight of a traitor son, without the worry of conspiracy. Peace comes from knowing we protected what is ours. And Sarah, if Ryan ever shows genuine change, if he shows real remorse, then maybe, just maybe, we consider a partial restoration. But until then, nothing. No money, no contact, and nothing. During the following days, messages arrived from Ryan, from Ashley, from her parents. Some furious threatening lawsuits, others pleading, asking for forgiveness that didn't sound genuine, and some calculated, trying to negotiate, seeking an agreement that would give them something. I ignored all of them because there was nothing to negotiate, no premature forgiveness to give, only the natural, inevitable consequences of the decisions they made. A week after Christmas, Ryan showed up at the reception of one of my hotels, asking to see me. My assistant advised me, what should I do? Should I send him away with security? No, let him in. I want to hear what he has to say. Ryan entered my office, looking destroyed, haggard, with dark circles under his eyes that suggested a sleepless night, and he sat down without invitation. Dad, I'm not your dad. I'm Ethan, or Mr. Miller if you prefer formality, because Dad suggests a relationship, and that relationship ended when you conspired against your mother. I know I made a mistake. Mistake, Ryan? You planned to steal a house, coerce Sarah, manipulate documents, and bring Ashley's family to pressure her more. That's not a mistake. That's criminal conspiracy. And the only reason I didn't press charges is because Sarah asked me not to, not because you deserve it. I'm genuinely sorry. Are you sorry, or are you sorry you got caught? Because, Ryan, I have recordings of you, Ashley, and her parents planning everything. And in none of those recordings did I hear remorse, only greed, only calculation of how to take what you didn't earn. It was Ashley. She pressured me. No blame for Ashley. You're a 32-year-old man with an education, with supposed intelligence. You had a choice at every step, and you chose to conspire, you chose to betray, you chose greed. Those are your decisions, not Ashley's, yours. So what? You discard me forever? You deny your grandchildren? You destroy an entire family for a mistake? For sustained conspiracy? And Ryan, if your children grow up seeing you as a role model, seeing greed rewarded, seeing betrayal without consequences, what kind of adults will they be? I'd rather they grow up without my presence than with the corrupted example of a father who didn't learn basic values. Please give me a chance. A chance, Ryan? I gave you everything. Expensive education, support when you didn't have a job, monthly money for years, a house when you needed it. And how did you repay me? By conspiring. And now you ask for more chances? Just one, to prove I can change. Then change it without my help, without my money, without the expectation of an inheritance. Build a life, earn money, support your family with your own effort. And if in 5 years you prove you are a man of integrity, who values family over greed, who learned the lesson, then maybe, just maybe, we consider a limited reconnection. But until then, there is nothing. Understood? 5 years is a long time. It's an appropriate consequence, Ryan. You conspired for months, planned to steal for weeks, and you expected what? A quick apology and everything forgiven? No. Actions have weight, and your action was heavy, so the consequence is heavy. 5 years or never, you choose. And Mum, can I at least talk to her? Sarah will decide that, not me. But Ryan, if you contact her, if you try to manipulate her, if you do anything that pressures her, it's over permanently. No more chances. Understood? Understood. Then leave and start building the life you should have built 10 years ago. A life based on your effort, not on my money. He left, and I stayed in the office, feeling a strange mixture of satisfaction and sadness, because I had won. I had protected Sarah, I had secured the fortune, I had taught a lesson, but I had also lost. The son I loved, the grandchildren I barely knew, the illusion of a united family that I would never have again. And that loss, although necessary, although justified, hurt. The following months were strange. Living in the house that had been invaded, walking through the rooms where the conspiracy had occurred, seeing the balcony where Sarah had cried, everything carried the weight of a memory that couldn't simply be erased. Sarah processed it differently. Some days she was relieved, grateful for the protection, for having been defended when she needed it most. Other days she was sad, crying for the son she had lost, for the grandchildren she didn't see, for a fractured family that might never be repaired. Did I do the right thing, she asked me one night, 2 months after Christmas, sitting on that same balcony, looking at the sea that had always brought peace. You did the only possible thing. Sarah, if we had given in, if we had allowed them to take the house, what would have come next? The hotels, everything else. Where would it have ended? I know, but Ethan, he is our son, our only son. And now, we don't have him. He abandoned us first, emotionally, years ago. We just didn't want to see it, or we didn't want to accept it. But Sarah, a son who conspires against his parents, who sees his mother as a target for manipulation, that's not a son. It's a stranger with shared DNA. And if he changes, if he truly learns, then in 5 years, we'll see. We'll evaluate. But Sarah, it can't be a cheap forgiveness. It can't be, I'm sorry, and everything is forgotten. He has to earn his way back with years of demonstrating a different character. And in the meantime, we live, we enjoy what we built, without guilt, without pressure, just us. But living without guilt was harder than I imagined, because even though Ryan had betrayed, even though he had conspired, a part of me still remembered him as a child, the innocent boy who used to run on the beach, who used to help out at the first hotel before greed, before Ashley, before everything became corrupted. And those memories hurt more than I expected, because they suggested that maybe I had failed as a father, that maybe if I had been different, more present, less focused on business, Ryan would have turned out differently. Sarah noticed my internal conflict. It's not your fault. Ryan had everything. Love, education, example. He chose to ignore all of that. That was his decision, not your failure. Maybe, but Sarah, what if I pushed him? What if my success, my wealth, created an expectation he couldn't meet, and resentment grew because he could never measure up to me? Ethan, many children have successful parents. Not all conspire to steal. Ryan chose the easy path, hoping to inherit instead of building. That's not your fault. It's his weakness. She was right, logically, but emotionally, the guilt persisted like a shadow I couldn't completely shake. 3 months after Christmas, I received an unexpected call from Ashley. Not from Ryan, but directly from Ashley. "Mr. Miller, I need to talk." "We have nothing to talk about." "Please, just 5 minutes, not about money, not about the house. I just need to tell you something." Something in her voice, desperation perhaps, or resignation, made me accept. "5 minutes in my office, tomorrow at 2 p.m. "Thank you." She arrived punctually, without Ryan, without an escort, alone and looking different, less put together, less confident, more human perhaps. "Mr. Miller, thank you for seeing me. You have 5 minutes, use them well. Ryan and I are getting divorced." That surprised me. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I want you to know that it wasn't just my influence, that I wasn't the only one responsible, but I also want you to know that I've had time to think about what we did. And you're right, it was a conspiracy, it was betrayal, and it was inexcusable. So why did you do it?" Greed, impatience, a feeling that we deserved more than we had. And Mr. Miller, I grew up in a family where money was always there, where I never really had to work, and I thought that's how it should be, that wealth was a right, not an earned privilege. And now I'm living in a small apartment, working for the first time in my life, in retail, earning minimum wage, and learning what I should have learned years ago, that money is earned, that respect is earned, that nothing is an automatic right. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know that at least one person from that conspiracy understands the magnitude of the mistake. And Mr. Miller, I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for restoration. I just want you to know that I learned painfully, but I learned. And Ryan is struggling, trying to find work, trying to support the children, trying to be the single father he never learned to be. And I don't know if he will learn, but I learned, and I wanted you to know it. I appreciate the honesty, though it's late. I know. And Mr. Miller, one more thing, the children, your grandchildren, are not to blame, and they deserve to know you, to know Sarah. Not now, perhaps, but eventually, when everything calms down, please consider it. I will consider it. But Ashley, children learn from their parents, and if you don't show character, if you don't demonstrate values, then seeing them is exposing myself to more pain, more disillusionment. I understand, but Mr. Miller, I'm working on that, on being a different person, a better one, and I know it will take years, but at least now I'm on the right track. She left, and I stayed, processing the conversation. Was it genuine, or was it a more sophisticated manipulation? I couldn't be sure, but something in her tone, in her appearance, suggested an authenticity I hadn't seen before. That night, I shared the conversation with Sarah. "Do you believe her?" "I want to believe her. But Sarah, I've been fooled before by people who seem sincere. Maybe she is sincere. Maybe losing everything, the retail job, the divorce, was her bottom, her awakening moment. Maybe it's a long strategy, slowly gaining trust to try again. Ethan, you can't live in perpetual distrust. At some point, you have to decide. Do you give a chance, or do you close the door permanently? I don't know yet, but it won't be soon, and it won't be easy. 6 months after Christmas, a pattern emerged. Ryan working at a small architecture firm, not as a partner, but as a junior employee, earning a fraction of what he expected, but working consistently. I knew because a friend of mine, the owner of the firm, contacted me. "Ethan, your son is working with me. Did you know?" "No, how did he get there?" "He applied like any other candidate without mentioning any connection to you, and honestly, He's good, talented, hardworking, different from what I expected, based on his reputation. What reputation? That he was spoiled? That he didn't work? That he lived off your money? But Ethan, that's not the man I see. I see someone hungry, determined, trying to prove something. Prove what? Maybe that he can be more than the son of a successful man, that he can build something of his own. This information made me think. Was Ryan really changing? Or was it an act for an audience that would eventually report to me? I couldn't be sure, but at least he was working. That was something. 1 year after Christmas, Sarah received a letter from Ryan. Not asking for money, not asking for forgiveness, just sharing his life. Mum, I know Dad said 5 years. I know I shouldn't contact you, but I needed you to know. The children ask about you, about Grandpa, and I don't know what to tell them, because I don't want to lie. But I also don't want to explain that their father was an idiot who betrayed the family. So I just say you're busy, that you live far away, that you love them, but can't visit them now. And they accept that because they are innocent children. But Mum, someday they'll ask for more. They'll want to know the truth. And I'll have to explain how I ruined everything, how I lost the family through greed, and it will be the hardest conversation of my life. I'm not asking you to forgive. I'm not asking you to forget. I'm just asking you to know that I think of you, that I miss you, and that I'm trying to be the man I should have been from the start. Your son, Ryan. Sarah cried reading the letter and showed it to me. What do you think? I think it sounds sincere, but words are cheap. Sustained actions over years, those count. And the children, Ethan, they are innocent. They don't deserve to lose their grandparents for their father's mistakes. I know, but Sarah, if we see the children, if we get involved, then Ryan is in our lives, and I need to be sure, absolutely sure, that it's not manipulation, that it's not a strategy to reconnect and then try again. How can you be sure? With time, with observation, with consistent demonstration over years. But in the meantime, the children grow up without knowing us. It's the price of protection, Sarah. I know it hurts, but I prefer that pain to the pain of being betrayed again. She understood, although she didn't like it, and she didn't reply to the letter, because although the mother in her wanted to reconnect, the protected wife understood the need for caution. 18 months after Christmas, my friend, the firm owner, contacted me again. Ethan, you need to know something about Ryan. What happened? Nothing bad, quite the opposite. He just closed a big project, an important client with a brilliant design. And the client was so impressed that he wants to give him an additional project directly. That's good, isn't it? It's excellent. But Ethan, Ryan turned down the personal project. He said he preferred it to be a firm project, that he wasn't ready to work independently, that he needed more experience, more mentorship. That level of humility in the world of architecture, full of egos, is rare. And that surprises you? Totally, because he could have taken the project, earned a big commission, started on the path to independence, but he chose humility. He chose learning over quick profit. Ethan, that speaks to character. This information made me reconsider. Was Ryan truly different? Really learning the lessons he needed? The evidence suggested yes, but a part of me still doubted. I still expected it to be an elaborate performance. Sarah noticed my conflict. Are you thinking about him? About giving him a chance before 5 years? I'm thinking, but Sarah, I can't decide based on third-party reports. I need to see for myself. I need to evaluate directly. So, what do you propose? A test. Without him knowing it's a test, creating a situation where he can demonstrate if he really changed or if he's still who he was. What kind of situation? I'm still planning, but it will be something that reveals his true nature, as I did before, but this time with the hope of a different outcome. 2 months later, 2 years after Christmas, I created the opportunity through a third party, a friend of a friend, who contacted Ryan, offering a boutique hotel design project in Miami with a generous budget and a commission that would be life-changing for a young architect. But there was a trap hidden in the details. The client, the supposed client, was me through a shell company, and the contract included a small, almost invisible clause that stated the final payment was subject to the satisfaction of the undisclosed owner, who had the right to modify the terms at their discretion. A predatory clause designed to see if Ryan would accept it, desperate for work, or question it, protecting his interests as a professional should. The response came a week later, through the intermediary. Ryan reviewed the contract and has questions, specifically about the satisfaction clause. He says it's too vague, that it needs objective criteria, that he won't sign without modification, even if it means losing the project. I smiled because that was the correct answer. The answer a professional with integrity would give. Not desperation, not blind acceptance, but intelligent negotiation, protecting his rights. Tell the client he accepts the modification, that the problematic clause will be eliminated, and the project proceeds with fair terms. Are you sure? I thought this was a test. It is, and he passed. Ryan demonstrated that he's not desperate, that he won't accept just anything, that he has professional standards. That's what I needed to see. The project proceeded, and over the next 3 months, I observed through reports Ryan working meticulously, designing a hotel that was honestly beautiful, with attention to detail, with creativity, with a professionalism I hadn't seen in him before. And when the project finished, when the design was presented, it was exceptional, genuinely exceptional, so much so that I decided to build that hotel for real, not as a test, but because it was good business. But first, I needed to do something I had avoided for 2 years. I needed to talk to Ryan directly, face to face, without intermediaries, without buffers, just father and son, or what was left of that relationship. I organized the meeting in my main office, the oldest hotel, the first one I built with Sarah 30 years ago. A place with meaning, with history, with memories of when everything began, and values mattered more than profit. I asked the intermediary to contact Ryan. The project owner wants to meet to discuss the design implementation. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. Ryan accepted, without knowing that the owner was me, without suspecting that the entire test had been orchestrated by his father. And that was important because his behavior during these months had been genuine, without an audience, without knowledge that he was being evaluated. The morning of the meeting, I woke up early with nerves I hadn't felt in years because this was the decisive moment. 2 years of separation, 2 years of silence, 2 years of wondering if the son I raised still existed under the layers of greed and manipulation. Sarah noticed my anxiety. Are you sure about this? No, but I need to do it. I need to know if Ryan really changed, or if these 2 years were just a more elaborate performance. And if he changed, if it's genuine, then we consider a slow, careful reconciliation, but possible. And if not, then I close that door permanently, without more doubts, without more hopes, just the acceptance that the son I knew no longer exists. I prepared meticulously, reviewing everything I had documented, work reports, professional behavior, ethical decisions, everything suggesting genuine change. But I still needed personal confirmation. I needed to look into his eyes, hear his voice, feel if the transformation was real. At exactly 2 o'clock, Ryan arrived. My assistant greeted him without revealing the client's identity and guided him to the conference room where I was waiting, sitting with the design portfolio in front of me with a neutral expression that didn't reveal the turbulent emotions beneath. The door opened, and Ryan entered with his own portfolio, with a professional expression, with the confidence of someone who has done a good job and knows it. But then he saw me, and everything froze. Color drained from his face. The portfolio almost fell from his hands. And for a long moment, a very long moment, we just looked at each other, father and son, separated by 2 years, by betrayal, by consequences that had reshaped everything. "Dad," he whispered finally. "Ryan, sit down." He sat down mechanically, without taking his eyes off me, as if he feared it was an illusion, or worse, as if he feared what would come next. "I suppose you're wondering what's going on. You're the client. You orchestrated all this, correct? The Tulum project, the offer, everything was a test to see who you are now, after 2 years." I saw something cross his face. Not anger, not indignation, but understanding, almost acceptance. "And I passed until now. You rejected the predatory clause. You worked professionally, created an exceptional design, and according to reports, you did it with integrity. No shortcuts, no expectation of special treatment. That's something. But it's not enough, is it? I don't know yet. That's why you're here. For us to really talk for the first time in 2 years. All right. What do you want to know? I want to know if you understand, truly understand, the magnitude of what you did. Not just conspiring, but betraying trust, pressuring your mother, planning to steal what you didn't earn. Do you understand it? Every day. Dad, a day doesn't go by without me regretting it, without me remembering Mom's tears on that balcony, without me remembering my arrogance, my greed, my complete lack of character. Words are easy, Ryan. I've heard apologies before from people who felt nothing. I know. That's why I didn't ask for a meeting. I didn't beg for forgiveness. I just lived, worked, tried to be different because I knew words wouldn't be enough, that only sustained actions would count. And Ashley? The divorce was necessary because, Dad, Ashley never changed. She continued to be who she was, greedy, manipulative, blaming everyone but herself. And I finally understood that if I stayed with her, if I raised the children in that environment, they would become a version of us, and I couldn't allow that. And now, what is your life like? Honest, humble. I work 6 days a week. I earn enough to support the children, to pay modest rent, to live within my means, without luxuries, without pretense, just an existence based on what I produce, not on what I hope to inherit. And the children, how are they? For the first time, I saw tears form in Ryan's eyes. Confused, asking about the grandparents they don't see, about the big house they used to visit, and Dad, I don't know what to tell them, because the truth is ugly that their father was an idiot who destroyed the family. But a lie is worse. So I try to explain, in a way that 5-year-olds can understand, that sometimes adults make big mistakes, and the consequences last a long time. And what do they say? They want to meet you, meet Grandma Sarah, that they see pictures and want to hug the people in the pictures, and every time they say that, my heart breaks more, because I know I deprived them of that with my stupid decisions. Silence fell between us, heavy, loaded with 2 years of separation, of pain, of growth, perhaps. And I looked at my son. I really looked, seeing not the conspirator of 2 years ago, but a different man, thinner, more tired, but also more real, more authentic, without the veneer of arrogance he used to carry. Ryan, why did you reject the independent project? The client who wanted to hire you directly, a friend of mine, told me you turned it down. Why? Because I wasn't ready. Because, Dad, all my life I took shortcuts, expected things to come because of the last name, because of connections, because of your money, and I always failed because I never built a real foundation. I never learned the humility of starting from the bottom. So when that client offered the project, I saw the temptation, the opportunity for quick gain, but I also saw the trap of reverting to old patterns. So I turned it down because I needed more time, more experience, more proof that I had really changed. That was a wise decision. It was the right decision. And Dad, I know it probably sounds calculated, as if I'm doing the right thing just to impress you. But honestly, I didn't know you were watching. I thought you had completely erased me, that these 2 years had been in a void, without an audience, just me trying to be better. And that's why they are significant. Because, Ryan, if you had known I was watching, the behavior would have been an act. But without that knowledge, it was genuine. And that counts for something. Does it count enough for forgiveness? For a chance to reconnect? I don't know yet, but it counts for this. For me to consider. For me to talk to Sarah. For us to evaluate if a partial restoration is possible. Not a complete restoration, not as if nothing happened, but a limited connection, especially with the grandchildren. Because you're right, they are innocent. They don't deserve to lose their grandparents for your mistakes. That would be, Dad, that would be more than I dreamed of, more than I deserve. It's not about deserving. It's about opportunity, about giving genuine change a chance. But Ryan, it comes with strict, non-negotiable conditions. Whatever, I accept any condition. First, never, ever mention money, inheritance, property, anything financial with us, especially with Sarah. Those subjects are permanently closed. Understood? Second, the reconnection will be gradual. We start with video calls, then short, supervised visits, and only if that goes well for months, years, even, do we consider more. Perfect, whatever you need. Third, if there is any sign that the old patterns are returning, of greed, of manipulation, of behavior that recalls the conspiracy, it ends immediately. No more chances. That's fair. Fourth, the will remains as it is. Complete disinheritance doesn't change now or in the near future. Maybe, just maybe, in years, if you demonstrate absolute consistency, we consider a minor modification, but don't expect it. Don't count on it. Build your life assuming you will inherit nothing. I'm already doing that. And Dad, honestly, I no longer want the inheritance. I don't want the money. I just want the relationship with you, with Mum. That's worth more than any property. We'll see if that's true with time, with sustained actions. I will demonstrate it for as long as it takes. After almost 2 hours of conversation, of difficult questions, of answers that seemed genuine, I made a decision. All right, I'll talk to Sarah. I'll tell her about this conversation, about the changes I see, and if she agrees, if she feels comfortable, we'll organize a video call with her, with you, with the children, and we'll see how it goes. Ryan cried openly, shamelessly. Thank you, Dad. Thank you for the opportunity. I won't waste it. Promises are words. Show me with actions over years, and maybe, just maybe, we rebuild something real. That night, I talked to Sarah, told her everything, and saw tears in her eyes too. Do you think the change is real? I want to believe it. And the evidence suggests yes. But Sarah, we can't know for sure. Not yet. We need time, continuous observation. And in the meantime, we take a small step, a video call with the grandchildren, seeing how it feels, and then we decide the next step. When? How about Sunday? 3 days from now. Does that give you time to prepare emotionally? Sunday arrived, and we organized the video call from the living room of our house. And when the connection was established, I saw Ryan in a modest apartment with the 2 children, Michael and Sophie, whom we hadn't seen in person since they were 3 years old. Kids, Ryan said softly, do you remember Grandpa Ethan and Grandma Sarah? Michael shyly nodded. From pictures, but we never talked. Well, today we're going to talk, and I need you to be respectful and kind. Can you do that? Yes, Dad, they said in unison. And for the next hour, we talked with the grandchildren we barely knew, about school, about games, about the drawings they had made. And it was beautiful, painfully beautiful, because they were innocent, pure, uncontaminated by their father's mistakes. Sarah cried silently, out of happiness, out of sadness for lost time, out of hope for future time. And I felt something I hadn't felt in 2 years, something akin to family, fractured, scarred, but perhaps repairable. After the call, when the children went off to play, Ryan stayed on screen. Thank you for this. I know it was difficult. It was, Sarah admitted. But Ryan, it was also beautiful. Your children are wonderful. They are. And they deserve grandparents. They deserve an extended family. And I'm going to ensure, with every action, with every decision, that they have it. Over the following months, the video calls became weekly, and slowly, very slowly, we began to heal, not completely, because some wounds are too deep, but enough to have conversations, to share small moments, to build a new relationship, different from the previous one, but real. 6 months after the first video call, 3 years after Christmas, we invited Ryan and the children to visit for the weekend with clear rules. They would stay at the hotel, not at the house. They would visit during the days, but return to the hotel at night, maintaining boundaries. And when they arrived, when I saw Ryan get out of the car with the children, taking their hands with an expression of genuine gratitude, I felt something, a small pride, because this man who had fallen so low was genuinely trying to be better. The weekend was cautious, with awkward moments, but also with beautiful moments. Michael and Sophie playing on the beach, Sarah teaching them to make sandcastles, Ryan watching with gratitude he couldn't hide. The last night, after taking the children to the hotel, Ryan returned alone, asking to talk. I just wanted to say thank you for this weekend, for the opportunity. Don't thank me yet. This is the beginning, not the end. I know, but Dad, I need to say something. When I was conspiring, when I planned to take the house, I thought I was securing a future for my children. But I was wrong, because what I would have taught them with that example is that greed works, that betrayal is acceptable, and they would have grown up with those values, becoming horrible people, probably. But now, I'm teaching them something different, that mistakes have consequences, that forgiveness is earned, that family is based on respect, not on financial expectations. And Dad, that's a better, more valuable legacy than any monetary inheritance. That's true, and Ryan, that shows real growth. Over the next year, the visits continued every 2 months, and each time I saw more evidence of sustained change. Ryan growing professionally, earning respect in the industry, not because of his last name, but because of genuine work. 3.5 years after Christmas, Ryan came with important news. Dad, I was offered a partnership at the firm where I work. I need an initial investment of $300,000. And Dad, I'm not asking you for money, just advice. Do you think I should do it? Take a bank loan or wait until I save enough? This was a decisive moment because he was asking for advice, not money, not a rescue, just guidance. How much have you saved? $150,000, half of what I need. And would the bank lend you the rest? Probably with high interest, but yes. And if I lent it to you with a formal contract, with reasonable interest, with a structured payment plan, not as a gift, but as a real loan, would you accept it under those terms? Would you do that? If it's a real loan, with a real expectation of repayment, consequences if you fail, then yes, because Ryan, this is a legitimate opportunity for you to build something of your own, and supporting that is not a rescue. It's an investment in your genuine future. I accept with all the conditions, and Dad, I will pay you back every dollar with interest. Then let's do it. But Ryan, if you fail, if you don't pay, there are no more chances. Understood? Completely. The loan was formalized with lawyers, with official documents, and over the following 2 years, Ryan paid punctually every month without fail, demonstrating a responsibility he had never shown. And the partnership prospered. Ryan growing as a professional, as a partner, as a leader in a firm that was gaining national recognition. And every achievement was his, earned with effort, not inherited. 5 years after Christmas, Sarah and I celebrated our 40th anniversary and organized a small, intimate party with close friends. And for the first time in 5 years, we invited Ryan and the grandchildren, not as a gesture of complete forgiveness, but as recognition of sustained progress. During the party, Ryan gave an unplanned speech, just spontaneously getting up. I want to say something about my parents. 5 years ago, I was a horrible person. I conspired against them. I planned to steal from them. I was a coward who allowed my wife and in-laws to manipulate me. And my parents, instead of simply disinheriting me and forgetting me, did something more difficult. They gave me real, painful consequences. And then, after years of demonstrating change, they gave me an opportunity, not an easy one, not a generous one, but a just one. And that combination of tough consequences followed by earned opportunity saved me, made me the man I should have been from the start. So Mum, Dad, thank you for not giving up completely, but also for not rescuing me easily, for finding the perfect balance between justice and mercy. I love you. Applause followed, and Sarah cried, and I felt something complete. A cycle closed, not perfectly, but healed enough to move forward. That night, on the balcony where Sarah had cried alone 5 years ago, we sat together, looking at the stars. Was it worth it? All the pain, the separation, the harshness? Yes, because Sarah, we recovered something. Not what we had, but something better. Something based on earned respect, not on obligation. And Ryan is a different man, a better one. And his children will see the correct example of consequences, of redemption, of real values. And the will you change it more? Maybe. If Ryan continues as he is, after 7 total years, I'll consider an increase to 20%. But Sarah, it will never be everything. Because the choice needs to remain. That inheritance is not a right. It's a privilege that is earned. Years passed. Ryan continued to grow, and the relationship with us, although it never returned to what it was, became something valuable, something authentic, based on mutual respect. And when finally, at 70 years old, I updated the final will, Ryan received 20%, not for being a son, but for having demonstrated genuine transformation over a decade. The rest continued to charity, to foundations, to causes that would change lives. And Ryan, when I informed him, didn't protest. He just said, "Thank you for recognizing the effort. And Dad, if I didn't inherit anything, it would be fine, because what I recovered is worth more. The relationship with you, self-respect, the example for my children, that's priceless." If you're listening to this story, I want you to understand something fundamental. Family based on financial expectations is not a real family. It's a transaction, and transactions don't survive crises. I came back from a trip to surprise Sarah for Christmas, but the surprise was mine. Finding a conspiracy, finding a wife crying while a son celebrated with invaders planning to steal our home. I had a choice: to act weakly, allowing the invasion to maintain superficial peace, or to act strongly, defending Sarah, protecting what we built, teaching lessons that hurt but transformed. I chose strength, and although it cost years of separation, although it meant losing a son temporarily, it also meant saving him permanently. Because the Ryan who conspired years ago would have continued in a downward spiral, destroying his family, teaching his children corrupt values, living a life of dependence and resentment. But the Ryan of today, transformed by tough consequences, is a man who respects himself, who works, who earns, who teaches his children about integrity, and that Ryan is worth more than a submissive son who never learned the necessary lessons. From San Diego, at 68 years old, and with a family rebuilt on a foundation of earned respect, I wish you the wisdom to recognize when love requires toughness, when protection requires distance, when saving someone means letting them fall just enough for them to hit rock bottom and decide to climb. And I wish you the courage to apply consequences that hurt, to resist emotional manipulation, to prioritize values over comfort. Ryan conspired against us and paid the price for years, but he also gained something invaluable: the opportunity to become a real man with real character. And now, years later, we have a relationship that is not perfect, but authentic, based on mutual respect, not on the expectations of an inheritance. And that relationship is worth more than any property. Thank you for listening to my story, and if it helped you, if it gave you the courage to defend your own boundaries, share it, because somewhere else, another father is discovering a conspiracy, another mother is crying on a balcony, and both need to know there is a way through, painful, long, but possible. The house I defended that Christmas is now a safe refuge for Sarah, for me, and occasionally for a son and grandchildren who learn to visit it with respect, not with a sense of entitlement, with gratitude, not with expectations. And that difference between entitlement and privilege, between expectation and gratitude, is everything. It's the lesson that saved a family, that transformed a son, that ensured the next generation grows up with the right values. If my story teaches anything, let it be this: true love sometimes requires toughness, real protection sometimes requires distance, and a genuine family is built on earned respect, not on inherited obligation.